Overall, when getting different bids, right, the intent is really finding and being a great steward, right? There's financial considerations, so we're trying to find the best value. And oftentimes people think, oh, I can just get 3 different bids, I'm gonna get the best price that way. From experience, I'd love to just share a few ideas of why that might not be. For us at Summit, there can be a lot more risk if we're not the ones helping with the design or part of the design process, because we don't know the holes, we don't always know the design intentions, we can't speak into different things. So if there's risk, if there's more gray areas, we have to charge more as a company to help cover our bases. A lot of times there's duplicate work. If we're redoing programming or redoing drawing sets to be able to draw on, that adds up in cost as well. One of the biggest things that we see, and gets me really upset to be honest, is the idea of a contractor trying to come in as low as possible on price to win the job and then using change orders and huge fees and markups afterwards to gain back all their profit. That can be a really, really common practice thing in construction in different areas, and it's really hard for me to sleep at night if we would do that. So we don't, but other people might. So ask questions around how they handle change orders. Will the labor rate that they had in their current bid be the same rate that they have in their change orders? Will they use the same markups? If their number looks too low, what holes did they have? Because businesses can only sustain so much loss. So if somebody forgot a $40,000 part, they might not be able to eat that cost, and then they're going to try to pass it on to you, or they might not be in business next year. So just because somebody's low up front doesn't mean it's going to be the lowest overall value of the project. What we've found to work really, really well, and the one part of the way we've built Summit is to build relationships with people we work with. That's a better way to do pricing, to do stewardship, to get the best cost, is to have honest conversations. For a church to hire somebody they can trust and believe in, for conversations about how much this costs, how much are we trying to make on this project as a contractor. We have those conversations because when we work together in sync through a whole project, we eliminate duplicate work, we eliminate excessive papers and just trying to fulfill a spec, and we can focus much more on a creative process, or what are we trying to build together. We get an opportunity to provide feedback. If a customer wants to do something that looks crazy and takes a whole lot of labor, we can speak into that and say, hey guys, I understand what you're trying to do, but if we tweak this and this, it'll take half the time. And if it takes half the time, that saves them money. So we get to speak into that process, that relationship, that back and forth, that collaboration ultimately will produce better value over time because we know what things cost. And when we can share that information as a design is being built and processed, we can help meet an expectation, but we can also provide a realistic expectation of the cost as well. Something else we love at Summit is repeat work, building long-term relationships. And I'd like to provide the case that even that has financial benefits. If for every project you do, you change contractor and vendor, how many conversations around this is the way we do this, and this is the way we do this, and we like this, and we like this over here, do you have to have with each person, because they have to learn who you are and what you value and what the expectations are. Whereas if you continue to work with one company who you trust, you have those a couple times and then you build upon those instead of starting from scratch every time. And when you look at a big picture and doing multiple projects, you can zoom out and take a big picture view and see how changing one product over here might also influence a campus over here or influence a kids building over here. And maybe we can reuse this on this project in 2 years. You can take a much broader view of planning around technology and budgets instead of we're just going to focus on this one project and get the best price for this one project. One other thing you get when developing a long-term relationship with a contractor is you get some consistency. We do certain things in certain ways, whether it's how we pull cable or how we write our labels or wire numbers or different pieces. And then when your team is using those, they grow accustomed to that. But if you have 6 different systems designed and installed by 6 different contractors, your staff and your team and your volunteers have to understand the nuances of all those different ones and how to support those different ones and the performance capabilities of all those different ones. And that ultimately comes at a lot of costs. It costs time For your church, it costs the experience, right? Because they have to think about that. It might cost more volunteers' time. So having some consistency, especially from a support standpoint, in working with one vendor can bring a lot of value. Just think about documentation, right? When things can be drawn in so many different ways and different labeling schemes and different colors of wire could be used, it's going to be really hard to support that, especially over a phone at 6 a.m. on Sunday. But if you know a standard wiring scheme that was used 3 years ago on one project and is used the same today, your guys can know off the top of their heads of, oh yeah, the purple wires mean this, or oh, a green RG6 is probably a sync cable. Move this over here. But if a different contractor uses a different color cable, it might not mean that. So that's something else that's could feel small, but could mean a working system or a not working system on Sunday morning.